There's a form of control in relationships that is so subtle, so deeply wrapped up in the language of vulnerability that most of us never even see it coming. It doesn't use obvious threats or demands. Instead, it weaponizes the past to create insecurity in your present. Today, we're going to break down the hidden architecture of what we're calling the ghost competition.
And this right here is the central paradox. This is the move that makes the whole game completely unwinnable. See, your opponent is just a memory, a curated, edited, and often totally idealized phantom. You're being measured against someone who isn't even there, a standard that can be changed at any moment just to make sure you always fall short. A memory can't be cross-examined, right? It can't be challenged, and it can never lose. The whole race is rigged from the start, and it's designed to keep you constantly striving for something you can never quite reach.
And this is what it feels like to be in that competition. The ground just shifts right under you. The relationship, which is supposed to be your secure base, suddenly feels more like a high-stakes performance review. Every single conversation, every conflict, every choice you make, it's all unconsciously filtered through this one question: am I doing this better than they did? You're no longer a peer in the relationship, you're just auditioning for a role that you thought you already had.
So let's actually put a name to this role: the evaluative successor. Now, this isn't just about your partner occasionally mentioning an ex. No, this is a systemic dynamic where you are deliberately positioned as the follow-up act, and you're constantly being judged. The whole point of putting you in this position is to create this low-grade, persistent anxiety that, well, it makes you more compliant, more eager to please, and a whole lot less likely to assert your own needs and boundaries.
So let's look at the damage this causes, because it's a real domino effect. It starts with performance anxiety, that constant feeling of being on stage, that inevitably leads to an erosion of identity, because you start changing parts of who you are just to win this impossible comparison. From there, you start to rack up what we call a status stat, this deep-seated feeling that you somehow owe your partner for choosing you over the idealized memory of their ex. And the end result? It's always relational burnout, just complete cognitive and emotional exhaustion from fighting a ghost.
So how does this actually work? Because it's not random. This isn't just someone being a little thoughtless or, not over their ex. It is a structured, repeatable system, a psychological mechanism that we can actually map out. This is the ghost standard loop, and we're about to break down exactly how it operates piece by piece.
Asking this question is so important because understanding the setup is the absolute first step to dismantling it. The power of this loop is all in its subtlety. It doesn't announce itself with a big fanfare. It just creeps in, disguised as sharing, or honesty, or processing the past. But underneath all that, it has a very clear four-stage structure. Okay, so here's how the loop is built. First up, you have the mythology phase. This is where the ex gets framed as a legend, either a total saint or an absolute demon. Either way, it sets this powerful, totally unattainable emotional baseline. Then comes the benchmark strike. During a conflict, maybe you're having an argument, your partner anchors the issue to that myth. They'll say something like, my ex was never this dramatic. That right there? That's the leverage point. It forces you into the scramble, where you start overperforming, trying desperately to beat the ghost. And finally, you get validation, but, and this is key, only sometimes. When you win the comparison, you're rewarded with affection. This unpredictable cycle, it's incredibly addictive, and it trains you to just keep competing.
And this is exactly why the loop is so effective. It's perfectly camouflaged. If you object to it, you risk being called insecure or unempathetic. Your partner can just claim they're being open or processing their trauma. But the structural result is always the same. They establish a status monopoly where their past gives them leverage over your present.
Okay, now we have to dig into why this works so powerfully on a biological level. This isn't just about feelings. It's about hijacking a really primal part of our brain's operating system. We're talking about our internal status radar, that ancient mechanism that is constantly tracking our social standing and our security within a group, especially with our primary partner.
Every single time an ex is brought into the dynamic as a point of comparison, your subconscious brain gets a very clear and threatening signal. Your spot here is not guaranteed. It's conditional. It completely depends on your performance relative to whoever came before you. This triggers a deep, primal fear of social exclusion, and it activates a threat submission response that we are hardwired to avoid at all costs.
There's actually a formal theory for this experience. It's called the Self-Evaluation Maintenance Model, or SEM.
And what it says is that when we're compared unfavorably to someone close to us, in an area we really care about, like, say, being a good partner, we experience a tangible, almost physical feeling drop in our own self-worth. It's not just in your head. Your brain processes this status drop as a real threat to your security.
So this comparison triggers a full-blown cognitive cascade. First, it creates an identity threat. This immediately lowers your perceived relational status, which instantly puts you on the defensive. Your brain then uses cognitive dissonance to try and fix the discomfort, but instead of rejecting the whole setup, you decide to prove you're better. And this is what activates the heuristic of potential, that powerful and often totally false belief that if you just try a little bit harder, you can finally win the game and the comparisons will stop.
All right, so we've analyzed the problem, this system, and the psychology behind it. Now let's pivot to the solution. This is the counteroffensive. And it's not about fighting back or trying to get even. It's about a strategic withdrawal from the game itself. It's all about reclaiming your cognitive sovereignty, your absolute right to define your own value outside of their curated history.
The single most important shift you have to make is this. You have to move from a mindset of performance to one of metacognition. Stop trying to act out the role of the better partner and start observing the dynamic itself. So instead of asking, how can I win this? You start asking, wait, what's happening right now? What is the function of this comparison? You move from being an actor on the stage to being the director watching from the wings.
Let's just contrast these two positions for a second. The trap is a reactive, low-status position. You're competing, justifying, overperforming, always seeking their validation. The counter, on the other hand, is proactive. It's a high-status position of observing, labeling the tactic, and decoupling from the whole comparison. The goal isn't to win their game, it's to make them play yours, a game that's based on the reality of the two people who are actually in the room.
So here is the actionable protocol, your 3-step playbook. First, reality decoupling. The moment a comparison starts, you stop it cold. You can say something like, I'm not interested in being measured against your past. Let's talk about you and me right now. Second, label the tactic. You identify the maneuver out loud. It sounds like you're using a memory to make a point about us. Can we just talk about that directly? This brings the hidden dynamic right out into the open. And third, the dyadic blackout. This is a firm, clear boundary. You say, the opinions of your ex have no vote in this relationship. From now on, that topic is completely off the table.
So, we've covered the tactics, the psychology, and the counter tactics. And really, it all comes down to one single powerful mission directive. This is the ultimate takeaway, the core principle that collapses this entire system of weaponized comparison.
Just let that metaphor sink in for a minute. The constant referencing of the past, it's rarely about nostalgia or unresolved trauma. It's a steering mechanism. By keeping your focus on what's behind you, they stop you from seeing the road ahead, and more importantly, they stop you from grabbing the wheel yourself. It's a subtle but incredibly powerful way to control the entire direction and climate of the relationship.
And so we end with this. The moment you enter the competition, you've already admitted that your position is up for debate. The most powerful move you can make is to refuse the premise entirely. Your value is not determined by comparison. Your security is not some prize to be won by outperforming a ghost. True agency is reclaimed the very moment you stop auditioning. Don't compete for a seat that is already yours. Anchor in the present.